Hi there everyone. So today I've got my array of a whole bunch of stuff that I've accumulated over the last several months for making soap. So I'm going to explain to you some of what you will need when you first start soaping. Everything is done in weight, so every oil you use is going to need to be weighed out. So this is my scale. I picked it up at Fred Meyer's and it gives, well, let's see. So here we have pounds, we have grams. Grams is something you want to be able to use a lot of because grams will make your soap recipe much more accurate when you weigh it out. And this is kilograms, and then it goes back to pounds and ounces. So you want to make sure you get a really good scale that's very sensitive to weight. That will be incredibly helpful for you. And again, I like using grams because it does make your soaping much more accurate. Things on safety: you are going to need some gloves. Lye is incredibly caustic. It will melt your skin off. I have had more than one experience when using lye where lye water has splashed on me, and that was not fun. So make sure you have good gloves. Long gloves is preferable because you can sometimes get lye burns along your wrists and things like that. So make sure they're really long and you'll get more coverage that way. Goggles, glasses, eye protection. If you get a piece of lye that is like dust-like and it hits your eye, guess what? Eye's gone. So make sure you have goggles, and that will help you a lot with that. You can wear masks if you want to, because breathing the lye in when it hits the water, the vapors are very caustic. So you can do that. And shoot, hey, if you wanted to go with the full hazmat suit, go for it. I have used most of all this material, and I have used no safety protection at all. And it's much wiser to use the safety protection. I can tell you. When I was making soap and I had a whole bunch of that lye water splash on me, that was stripping off in the kitchen, running screaming to the bathroom, spraying myself down with vinegar. Vinegar is awesome. You might want to keep that on like a spray bottle. It neutralizes lye, by the way. But after you've neutralized the lye, wash really, really well with cold water and soap. Vinegar will turn the lye into a different chemical, even though it neutralizes it. But if you don't get it off your skin, it will still burn you. So I found using soap and water at that point is really easy to just, wash it off. I've used soap and water directly, and it took forever to try and get that lye water off of me, and it still kept burning me in the process. And I've used just vinegar by itself, and even though it changes into another chemical, it still kept burning me. So use them both together. Neutralize it, wash it off, and then you won't have any damage to your skin by doing that. So that's it for safety. Another thing you're going to need to make yourself, which I did this for myself, is make yourself a recipe book. There are so many different kinds of recipes out there that you can make, and if you're using SoapCalc at all, you'll want to pick up something. I found this notebook at the dollar store. It was really helpful on the inside, and I've got it full of other stuff at the moment. But on the inside, if I needed to write down what my recipe was, I'll make up my recipe, and here's one of the ones I've created. And yes, I will show you guys how to make this recipe, but I won't show the other ones. But in the bottom here, you have an option to write in what you found out about your recipe, what you liked, what you didn't like, what you'd want to change. You have that option to do that here, and so you can keep a log of what's going on here. You can also, if you've seen my video on how to use SoapCalc, you can name your batch. Then you have your additives, if you want to add things and you have notes. I found if after the fact I didn't like what my soap did, I could write it down here. And this was a great help. I could just kind of keep it in here. And if I didn't like the recipe, I could just toss it. But if I really enjoyed it, then I just got a plastic sheet protector. Again, you can pick up plastic sheet protectors at the dollar store. And you can actually even get 3-ring binders at the dollar store like I did here. And keep your recipes clean and protected so the oil as you're making your soap won't damage your paper. So this is wonderful. You can print this out on your printer, and it was just very helpful for me to do. So this is my book. Hopefully you guys can take some notes there for yourself and see if that's something helpful you can do. Another thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to have some kind of a tray to keep your molds on. So when you're pouring your soap, you can actually easily transport it instead of doing this and having your soap bubble out and make a big mess everywhere. And because, you know, it hasn't hit a process called saponification yet, your soap batch will be a little bit lye heavy. So if you end out dropping any bit of that soap mixture anywhere, it can burn you. So keep that in mind. You want to make sure you have good molds. I found some awesome silicone molds. These are wonderful. And I will be making a shaving cream soap using this mold, and I'll show you how to do that and in another video. And I will post the link for these molds specifically so you can purchase them if you'd like to. And I've got a cat in the background using a cat box. Excuse that. Another thing you're going to want is spoons. Make sure they are stainless steel. Everything really needs to be stainless steel. If you're using any kind of other metal, the metal will react with the lye, and you'll get some kind of a terrible reaction. If you have used aluminum, aluminum will vaporize and explode. So only use stainless steel. It's very helpful for you. I have some stainless steel spoons here that I've used. And I keep these set aside. I do not use these for eating at all, because again, you want to keep your soaping stuff separate from everything else. Glass containers, you can use them. Probably the best thing to use is stainless steel to mix anything in, because glass, like this is a good Pyrex glass, it's a good canning jar. Those are tempered for heat. But again, because lye, when it hits water, the reaction is more heat. And so if you exceed the heat for what your glass can tolerate, you've got lye water and glass everywhere. And you don't want that either. So yeah, I use this. So far it's been good for me, but it's not really the best. So I thought I'd throw that out there for you. Some spatulas, rubber spatulas. These are wonderful. These are helpful for you, especially if you're trying to clean out your soap batch from inside your large pouring pitcher, which I have here. I've used some heavier plastic for mixing different colors and stuff in. And speaking of colors, these are some glycerin colors that I picked up and have used before. These I think are a little bit better suited for a melt and pour soap that is absolutely different from using cold process and hot process soap. But you probably can still use these. I've used them for some cold process soap before, but they didn't work out as well as I'd hoped. Mica pigment, I should say, because mica is actually a rock, it's a mineral, and these aren't just the mineral. So I've got some colors and pigments here. Yeah, that's the screaming cat. Right, so now we have fragrance oils. You can use all different kinds of fragrance oils as long as they are skin safe. They have to be, you know, used for soap making or making lotions or something like that. Again, same thing with your essential oils, which I have a bunch here as well. Everything needs to be skin safe. Your lye for making cold process soap. This is what I've picked up at my local hardware store. It is pure sodium hydroxide, and that's really what you want to use when making cold process soap. And I've got my other jars here that I've actually labeled, printed out some labels and pasted them on there because I get goat's milk. I mean, I use chilled goat's milk in my batches. I do not ice my milk, which some people, if you're using different kinds of recipes, you'll need to do that to keep your milk from burning. But the method I use, I don't have to ice my milk, but I still have everything labeled so I know what they are. Then I have my pure water here. Yes, I have to get purified water. Do not use sink or faucet water. There could be some chemicals, additives, and stuff in the water that will damage your soap and cause some caustic reactions, or not caustic. I should probably say, like, it'll turn your oils rancid, so you'll get brown spots or orange spots, and that's because there's been a contaminant involved in making your soap, and it's changed it, and you really don't want to use that. I guess you could if you wanted to, but don't rub rancid soap on your body. That just is gross, and it'd probably make you very sick. I have my butters, my shea butter, my cocoa butter. I mixed two of them together so I had exactly the half and half, and that's what I tend to use in most of my soap recipes. If I use cocoa butter and shea butter, I use them in equal parts. So whenever I found the cocoa butter or shea butter and whatever variations I can get it into, I will weigh them out on my scale and melt them down and pour them into my container and just use it that way, because that just makes it much easier, and I know exactly how much I have for what size batch I'm going to make, and it just makes my life a lot simpler. I do use beef tallow. This is tallow I've rendered myself, and if you've seen my other videos, I teach you how to render your own tallow. So again, I have everything labeled because you want to have that. And I think that's pretty much it. So we've talked about the safety, what kind of containers you need. Oh, the wonderful thing, I didn't even mention this. You'll want some kind of a submersion blender. Stainless steel blades, stainless steel, it's about on there, shank, I guess, I don't know, whatever you call it. Again, you know, stainless steel for a reason. And this will help make your soap making go much, much faster. If you try and mix your soap with a spoon to trace, you will be stirring for hours and hours and hours. So get yourself a submersion blender, again, stainless steel, and it will make your soaping experience go much faster, from being hours to minutes. And that's, I think, pretty much it for what I've got here. And those are the things you're going to need to consider when soap making. Guys, you know, using a lye, yeah, it's caustic, yeah, it's dangerous, yeah, it can absolutely melt your skin off. Probably the CIA uses it to hide bodies in, I don't know. But that stuff, you know, life is dangerous no matter what. I mean, you can be killed tomorrow just, you know, falling asleep in your bathtub, you know, drown, or, you know, anything can happen. You can be hit by a car. There's just so much. You choke on a chicken wing. I mean, my goodness, there's a lot of things out there that can damage you and hurt you. But as long as you're doing everything safely, you really don't have anything to worry about. Again, like I've said, I've used the safety gear, and then I've used nothing at all. And I've been okay, because, again, I still at least had, you know, my vinegar on hand and, you know, some soap and water. But be safe. You know, we have seatbelts in cars for a reason. We're told to chew slow for a reason, so safety gear for a reason. So this is what I've got. This hopefully makes sense to you in getting ready to make your own soap recipes, and I'll see you back later when I start making some more soap. Alright, see you later guys. Bye.